Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us in this presentation on how to fill out your free application for federal student aid, which is FAFSA for short. We were at the Welcome Center. We help students complete their financial aid applications, and we ensure that you are obtaining the correct funding. So the agenda for today is, what is the FAFSA? When should you apply? What information is needed to complete the application? What does the application actually look like, including the 1040 tax return that's required? Submitting your application and what those steps look like. And then what are the next steps after you have submitted your application to ensure that you are awarded your financial aid on time? So the first thing we're going to talk about is, what is the FAFSA? The FAFSA consists of grants, loans, scholarships, and work study to assist the student to meet their college tuition and fee expenses. This is an application that you must apply to. It is not automatically awarded. The types of money included in this are grants, which are free money, loans, which is money that you have to pay back, work study, which is a paid job on campus, and then the money comes from the federal government and or the state of Washington, depending on the funding you receive. So when should you apply? For South Seattle College specifically, you should allocate at least 90 to 120 days in advance to complete that application and submit it. So for example, if you are looking to start in the fall quarter of 2022, you must apply by June of 2022 to be within that 90 to 120 day time frame. You can and should still apply even after that 90 to 120 day time frame. However, funding is not guaranteed at that point. For the application, you apply one time per year, and it's on a first come, first served basis, which means it's not an unlimited resource. There is guidelines, and there are people who apply sooner get the most amount of money depending on their situation. So there are two applications open. Please apply based on when you want to start school. And each school also has their own additional deadlines. So make sure that you apply in October of every year in order to obtain your awarding on time. So what information is needed to complete the FAFSA? There are two different types of students that will be completing the FAFSA. One of them is either the under the age of 24 and considered a dependent student. So if you are not legally emancipated, if you are not in foster care, if you are not homeless or married or have children or a veteran, you will be considered a dependent student if you are under the age of 24. And for that, you will need your parent and you will need your parent's FSA ID and your cell phone as well, which we will talk about in the next slide. And this is just like an electronic signature. You will need your social security number. If you are a permanent residency holder, you will need your green card number and alien registration number. We don't need to see the card. You will need your driver's license or state ID if you have one. And then you will need your tax returns from 2 years prior. So just as an example, prior, if you're looking to start in the fall of 2022, we will need your taxes from the 2020 tax return year. For your parents, you will also need the same information, but if they are married, you will need their date of marriage. If they are divorced, you will need their date of divorce or separation. And then if they are married or if you are married, you will also need your W-2s to separate the incomes for the spouses. So after that, you will also need your estimate of current cash savings and checking account balances for yourself and your parents or legal guardians. And if you receive any type of income that is like child support, alimony, disability, or unemployment, you will also need that information. Those who are over the age of 24 and considered independent, you will also need an FSA ID. We'll talk about it in the next slide. You'll need your social security number. If you're a green card holder, you will need that alien registration number, driver's license or ID if you have one. Again, tax returns from 2 years prior. If you are married, you will also need those W-2s to separate incomes. And if you are married or divorced, you will need your spouse's full legal name, date of birth, and social security number as well. So what is the FSA ID? The FSA ID is an electronic signature that you create with your information, with your social security number, which is going to be a legally binding signature that you use in order to sign your financial aid application. The student and the parent or guardian must create an FAFSA ID if it applies. And you must make sure that your social security number is correct, or it will be considered mismatched and you will not be able to sign your financial aid application with it. This is the correct website, as you can see here. This is the correct website that you go to in order to create that FAFSA ID, and this is what it should look like. This is just the first page. It will ask you for your social security number down here, and then address, contact information, whatnot, and the next steps. So onto the actual application. So the FAFSA. The FAFSA should look something like this picture here, as shown in the PowerPoint. This is the correct website that you go to. Make sure you are on the correct page. If a website ever asks you to pay in order to complete your FAFSA, that is more than likely not something that is correct, and that you should never have to pay to complete that FAFSA. So as you can see, here is the Start Here button. So for new users that have never started or submitted an application, you will start here in this new to the FAFSA process. However, if you are a returning user, you will log in for those who have already created an application or have already submitted one, or renewing their application for the following school year. Moving on to the residency portion of the financial aid application for FAFSA. So the residency portion of this consists of the state of legal residence, which is not about citizenship status. This is talking about where you reside in the United States. So for example, if your state of legal residence is Washington State, but you did not become a resident before January 1st, 2017, you're going to click no, and then it's going to ask you the month and the year that you did first reside in Washington State, in order to determine whether you are eligible for that in-state funding. Are you a U.S. citizen is about citizenship status. If you are a U.S. citizen or permanent green card holder or other types of citizenship statuses that do qualify for this, you will continue with the FAFSA. If you are undocumented and do not have a social security number or are DACA eligible, you will do the WASFA, which is in another video. Next in the FAFSA application is your intended degree. So make sure that you are selecting the correct college degree that you are seeking when you're applying for financial aid. So if you are looking at starting at South Seattle College and it's your first time applying and you're wanting to get a transfer degree, you should choose the associate's degree in the general education transfer portion. If you're looking at completing a professional technical degree, such as like welding or automotive technology, you're also going to choose associate's degree, where you're going to specify that it's for the occupational and technical pathway. If you are looking at completing a 4-year degree, it's also going to ask you for that. And you just indicate which degree that you are seeking for the school year that you are applying to. If you already have a 4-year degree, in this question, you will answer that you already have one. If you do not, you're going to choose no. This section here is asking what your grade level will be in the school year that you're looking to start school. If you have never attended college before, and your grade will be a never attended college first year. If you have attended college, but you don't have enough credits to be a second year, you will have the option to write, have attended college before, however, it is still my first year. Just make sure that you choose accordingly so that they're able to process your application faster. Again, if you are interested in possibly participating in work study, please mark yes. If you mark no or don't know, the possibility of obtaining that funding, if that's what you're interested in, is going to be very low. The next step in the FAFSA is going to be selecting your high school. So when you are selecting your high school, you can either find your high school from the list generated, or you can choose I can't find my high school and input that information manually. This is especially common in students who have high school diplomas from foreign countries, which is totally okay. Those will be accepted. If you are a high school 21+ student at South Seattle College, you will choose the option shown here, which is the South Seattle college completion, high school completion, South Seattle Community College high school completion, and the city of Seattle and the state of Washington. Next step after that is selecting your colleges. You can search the college you want to send your information to by finding the school code. So such as this South Seattle College school code is 009706. Or you can also search it by the school name, the school city, and the school state, and it will generate a list, and you will just choose which school that you're wanting to apply to. You will click on this check mark here, and then it'll take you to the next step. You can choose up to 10 colleges at a time to send your information to. Every school that you select, and once you submit, you will receive a copy of your FAFSA, and they will email you to complete that financial aid process at their school. Even if you haven't officially been accepted, they want to make sure that your application is being processed and forwarded on time to make sure that you obtain your funding for the school year you were trying to start. Because of this, we really highly implore you to consider only adding the schools that you are serious about attending. The next portion of the FAFSA is the tax information. So for dependent students, both the student and the parent will be asked to complete this section. They will have the option to put either not going to file, already filed, will file, et cetera. However, if a student or parent did not complete their taxes, you need to indicate that in your application and choose not going to file. If that is the case, you may be asked to provide additional documentation to the financial aid office. For independent students, only the student and the spouse will complete this section. You do not need your parents' information if you are considered an independent student. The next step in this process is the tax information. So once you indicate what your status is for completing your taxes for the year that they're asking for, remember that you are going to get either this message or a message saying that you are not eligible to use the data retrieval tool. If you do get this message saying that you are eligible, we highly recommend using it just because it's better for the financial aid office to know that the information came directly from the IRS, and you're less likely to be chosen for verification when you use the IRS data retrieval tool. When you are using the IRS data retrieval tool, you must input the information on the website exactly as written on the tax return for it to work. So for example, if your address on the 1040 has your address listed as 1234 SABC Street, please do not put 1234 South ABC ST dot on the data retrieval tool, otherwise it will not work. You must input it exactly as shown on your 1040 tax return. Let's say for some reason your IRS data retrieval does not work and you're not able to use it, or even if it does work and there's still some information that you need to input yourself, there is sections and specific numbers that the 1040 is going to ask for the tax information section. So for example, in the picture shown below, it says, what was the adjusted gross income for the year 2020? It's going to tell you this amount is found on IRS form 1040 line 11. You're going to go to your 1040 and you're going to go to line 11 and you're going to input exactly what is shown and exactly what is written on that line. Please do not guess or change the numbers, as this could affect your eligibility and you will need to provide proof otherwise. If you have a different version other than the 1040, so for example, a 1040A or a 1040X, you will need to get the following website for the tax transcript decoder. Once you are on there, it'll explain to you exactly what lines you will be using for the different things that the FAFSA is asking for. Moving on to the tax information, if the student or parent is married and filed jointly, just as indicated in the picture below, so married and filed jointly, if you have indicated that you are married and filed jointly, you will need W-2s to separate the total income to determine what each person has earned individually. It will ask you that on the tax information portion of the FAFSA, so just please make sure that you have your W-2s ready. There will be other questions. We're just kind of getting a gist as to what the FAFSA entails and getting the major portions of it out of the way so that you're able to complete the form on your own if possible. The next portion of this is going to be the sign and submit portion. So when you're on this page, please make sure to read the instructions about electronically signing your FAFSA application. So these are the instructions here. Please make sure to read them. And if you agree to them, then you're going to click on this button below here. It's going to say, I, your name, agree to the terms outlined above. Once you click on it, then you will click on the sign and submit form in order to finish. This doesn't mean that it has been officially processed. It doesn't mean that you're done and you're just waiting on things now. What it means is that you have submitted your application. The schools that you have indicated that you want to send that information to will receive your information if there are no errors, and then they will contact you regarding any additional documentation that they might need. So what are the next steps? So remember, you will not receive any funding until you have completed the following steps. You have to submit the FAFSA. You have to have turned in all of the missing or additional documents that are requested by the financial aid office of the institution you are looking to attend. And you must also review and accept your awards from the financial aid office. Some helpful tips when it comes to this are to consistently check your email for any communication from the financial aid office of the institution you want to attend. Please check your junk mail. Sometimes they do go there and students are confused as to why they haven't received any communication. Just check your junk mail every once in a while just to make sure that you haven't gotten anything there. Each school has different requirements for file completion, and some even have deadlines. So make sure that you're checking your school's financial aid website for any details. So once you have submitted and then the school that you're trying to attend indicates that you have some missing documents or additional documentations that they need from you, they can be found in the completing your file section of your school. They will be sent in an email, but we have also included a missing document information completing your file presentation, which you can look at, especially if you are trying to attend self. Thank you for listening.